Wow, jump in. Straight. What's up? Greetings, folks. Welcome to, it's a Fibroid Friday here at GBD Towers. And welcome on and all to the show. Hopefully have a very special show today. We invite some new faces, some old faces, some new people. And we're here today to talk about fibroids. We're here to talk about the truth about fibroids, the root cause of fibroids, but most importantly, the solutions for fibroids. And we'll also talk about why so many black women, African-American women, in fact, black women globally, not only suffer from fibroids, but are given really the wrong information as to how to deal with their fibroids. And it's a pandemic in itself, is it not, Dr. Amsu?
Yes, this is a pandemic that has been unmentioned really in part of the global narrative. Nobody really speaks about how bad the situation is. A lot of black women growing up, they haven't even heard of fibroids. So when they're told, oh, you have fibroids, they don't know what it is. And this is a phenomenon that affects so many black women. It's like, well, what did the generation before talk about?
Yeah.
You know, we have to ask the question, what's the problem with education? You know, when something affects so many people, why is it not in the spotlight? This is a pandemic of reproductive health that has not been put to the forefront and is not taken seriously. Maybe because it's benign, but it's certainly a massive issue, and so many other conditions can rear their ugly heads from procedures that are used to deal with this, you know, the whole fibroid situation. So right now, they claim in 2022, it's still a claim that we don't know the root cause of fibroids. They're still claiming that. And the treatment for fibroids has been limited to surgical procedures, whether they are non-invasive or invasive. You know, and we're talking about the removal of fibroids, which is called myomectomy,
yep,
or hysterectomy, which is the removal of the whole uterus. And then there's uterine artery embolization, where they use polymer balls to block the arteries to the uterus, or to fibroids, as they call it, because sometimes it's called a UFE, uterine fibroid embolization, which is to cut off the blood flow. But there's nothing else on offer. There's nothing in the way of preventative medicine to stop this from happening, because they claim they don't know the root cause. Yeah. But it's a conflict of interest, because there's so much money in fibroid treatment for gynaes.
Right.
Whether it comes in by way of, you know, the hysterectomy, myomectomy, and usually embolization is performed by, you know, other clinicians,
it's not
right?
Even right.
But, you know, there's the kickbacks that these gynaes get. But a lot of hysterectomies, for instance, 75% of hysterectomies, according to the Association of Certified Obstetricians and Gynecologists, 75% of these hysterectomies are unnecessary.
Yeah.
And the majority of hysterectomies around the world are performed on African American women. In fact, African American women have more hysterectomies than the rest of the world combined.
Yeah.
So imagine when we combine the rest of the black world, what kind of percentage we're talking about when it comes to black women with hysterectomies. So this is a major issue.
Absolutely. So listen, folks, we jump straight in there. There's so much to talk about. For those of you first time to the platform, to the show, you're surely Mr. Breaks here. The Great Black Detox, Electric Food, the herbal supplement company. And to my left, the man himself, Dr. Amsu, the man that wrote the book, Got Fibroids, the Elimination Bible. We'll talk to excerpts of that as well. We also have Dr. Keela John, who's part of our team and is here to answer questions and share her insights as well. And most importantly, we have the host of people that are on here. Now, we'd really appreciate if you guys would unmute your cameras so we can see who we're interacting with. And so when we share questions and answers, you know, it's more of a two-way thing. We're really not here to do lectures. And for those of you here for the first time, it's really about answering your questions. If you have questions, you can let us know in the chat, or you can raise your hand. In the bottom of the Zoom, there's a participation button, and then you can raise your hand. It's right down the bottom there. Raise your hand, let us know you have a question. Or again, you can let us know in the chat. There may be people watching on YouTube as well. You guys can let us know in the YouTube. I'm not sure, are we doing IG Live today? We're not doing IG Live today, are we? So you guys got us exclusively here on the Zoom and on YouTube. And maybe just want to share some things about your fibroid journey. We have a lot of stories. We hear a lot of stories. We talk to women, of course, not just women. We talk to families, a lot of husbands and men and boyfriends who've had significant others, women who've gone through fibroids. And there are so many aspects of this that aren't discussed, aren't talked about. And as Dr. Amsa said, it's a pandemic. It's been plaguing the African-American or black community globally for decades, probably hundreds of years, but more so since the industrialization of food and medicine.
I would say hundreds of years.
Why not thousands, millions, right? Yeah.
No. It's a new phenomenon. It's very new since the invention of plastics.
Right. It's definitely
and petrochemicals. Right. Because it's the environment plays such a major role, and cosmetics and shampoos and anywhere where these endocrine disrupting chemicals can find their way into, we marveled at the invention of plastic. And if you think about over the years, when we were children, food was wrapped in paper, brown paper bags. Yeah. Right?
Chips, crisps.
Right.
Even potato chips came in the paper with a little salt sachet.
Newspapers, even when it was put in newspapers, it wasn't as bad as even though the ink was not great for you, right? But all foods are wrapped in plastics. We use plastic for everything. There's plastic forks. There's polystyrene. I don't even know what they call polystyrene over here.
It's a styrofoam.
Styrofoam, they call it. Mm-hmm. Packing food in styrofoam, knowing too well that has the most potent leakage into any foods. And this is stuff that's been banned in Europe, but they're still serving hot food here in Georgia. You go and you may go and buy fries from any corner restaurant, fast food restaurant, and it's in styrofoam, it's in polystyrene. And this is polystyrene is a known as a estrogenic substance. And estrogen, by the way, is at the root cause of the fibroid pandemic. Hormonal imbalance by way of estrogen dominance. So we know what it is, and there's a whole plethora of white papers, research that shows that estrogen is at the root of all, if not the majority, of female reproductive issues and conditions. So we're not gonna, skirt around. We're not gonna play around.
No.
This is what's going on, and the information, the education has to be out there, which is why we do what we do, getting the information out to y'all.
Indeed. And so, folks, again, if you're on the call for the first time, please don't be shy. It's a platform for you guys. We really appreciate if you unmute your cameras. If you have any questions, and there's no question too big, too small, there are no silly questions. There are so many things that majority of people don't know. We're very well ill-informed. Obviously, I was someone who was ill-informed about fibroids for obvious reasons. But even me as a man, learning what I've learned about fibroids, predominantly from Dr. Amsu, and just being a part of this program, I consider myself now a female reproductive health or fibroids advocate, okay? Because I have a daughter. I have many sisters, and I wouldn't want them to go through what a lot of women we're hearing about are going through here in America. Now, imagine if these things are happening in America, what's happening around the world, right? This is a country whereby, you can walk to any corner store and there's a minute clinic around. There are countries in the world where there may be one hospital or clinic for, millions of people in the region, quite literally. I'll give an example. I'll name the country later on maybe. I know there's one country which just celebrated having one ambulance per region recently. It was a celebration. We now have one ambulance per region. We live in a country where there's,
I want to know
the best medical care.
The name of that country.
Jamaica.
No,
it's Ghana. And Ghana is one of the, I guess.
Because we have at least two region in Jamaica.
Well, I don't want to talk about that.
Ambulances.
After C. Manley and them man there. But the point I'm making, we live in a country where there's nowhere in the world that has better access to healthcare than America. However, we have the best access to some of the worst healthcare. Not because the processes aren't there, not because the procedures aren't there, not because the true medicine isn't there, it's because of the education. And guys, this is your opportunity to ask any questions around female reproductive health, whether it's fibroids, PCOS, endometriosis, adenomyosis, you name it, infertility. And the good Dr. Amsu and Dr. Keela. Now, I see some people unmute their cameras. You can wave at me if you can see us. Hope you guys can see us. Can you hear us okay? Okay, good. Now, I'm going to go around because we're waiting for other people to join. Now, we know there are people in the UK. There are people on the West Coast dialing into the call. We hope there's no one having trouble entering the bridge because we did have some technical issues, which is why we were a little bit late. Want to apologize for that.
I'm trying to figure out what flag. Is that St. Lucia?
No, that's Antigua or something? No.
Bahamas?
It's not
It's not Bahamas.
Linda J, we want to know what flag that is. We should know this.
We should.
The Caribbean man to my left should know this.
You know what?
I'm
there's one flag I know, you know.
Oh, God. X-Men flag.
One flag I know.
So we've got all these beautiful faces. Ruth, we have Sarah Spencer. I'm calling you guys out with Linda J from which Caribbean island we don't know. Marquetta. Who else we have on? Alexis. Now, you guys are here for a reason, right? And we said on things, there's no pressure. You don't have to really participate. However, this is a platform and a forum for you guys, open discussion. Again, there are no silly questions. Again, Dr. Keely's here, way to answer your questions. Is there anyone on here who has been told they need surgery for their fibroids? I see Ruth Bailey. Ruth, if you don't mind, I know you're driving. We don't mind the background noise. What were you told? When were you told? Tell us a little bit about your situation. I'm assuming you have fibroids, otherwise you wouldn't have nodded, right? So I think that's Ruth Bailey. Our producer is very strict with the mute button, so.
Oh, okay.
Here we go.
We can hear you now, Ruth.
Hi, everyone.
How you doing?
Good evening.
So I think it was early or ending of last year, December of last year. My GYN had wanted me to go and get some procedure done, some ultrasound. So I went and got that done, and because I was having difficulties getting pregnant, so I went to Boston IVF, and they did some other scans and all these kind of things, and they told me that I had a fibroid and that was blocking my tubes. So they wanted to remove it, and I was like, well, is there a natural way to remove it? And they didn't really want to hear that. So they're like, oh, that would take a long time. And if there was, then they said they didn't really have any natural way. So I told them I prefer to do something naturally instead of, doing surgery.
Yeah.
Because I didn't really want to have surgery. So as of this point, I haven't done any surgery.
I think so.
I have been on the platform one other time before. I know there's natural ways of going about doing stuff. So that's why I was kind of tuning back in today. So that's my little story right now.
No, absolutely. And, it's a very common story, which is why I think I wanted to lead with that. And, I wonder, we should probably pull the stats. How many millions of women have been told they need surgery and are out there looking for alternatives? Of course, people are reluctant to have any kind of surgery. I know people have dental issues for years and don't go to the dentist until it's critical. They've got an abscess, and they get rushed into ER. And so in that time, those same gynecologists are not giving these women or not telling these women about the alternatives. They're not talking about nutrition, Dr. Amson. We talk about all the time how a lot of doctors don't really study nutrition, right? And so a lot of these diseases and ailments, they're not really getting to the root causes and not linking the conditions to nutrition, and maybe slightly more sinister, are conditioned or they're trained to point towards surgical, right, and medical or chemical solutions for these things. What's going on here, Dr. Amsu? Why are so many women in limbo between surgery and, if they get lucky, find us or not,
I mean, it's standard operating procedure within allopathic medicine to first deny that they know there's a root cause. And the story starts from young age, right? So girls will start menstruating on average at around 13 years old, right? They go through, they start the adolescent age, start going through puberty. Now, what happens when we enter puberty, especially girls? They're told they suffer with hormonal imbalance. So they have things like acne. They may break out, and boys have acne too.
Sure.
Right? That's the only thing we have as boys to let us know that we're messing up. Right? We have a bit of acne. Girls have acne, they have bloating, they have irregular bleeding, they have menstrual cramps, they have pains with when their breasts are growing in, they have mood swings, right? So there's more when it comes to the female reproductive system in the way of physiological and psychological behavior, right? And these pathways. And more often than not, the standard operating procedure for all things reproductive or hormonal is take birth control.
Birth control, yeah.
Birth control, right? And birth control is an endocrine disrupting system, right? Our natural endocrine system is so sensitive, and it's even more so when it comes to women. It's absolutely sensitive. And the hormonal imbalance that takes place because of eating candies and, the sodas and eating of meat and dairy and cheese and all these things that cause hormonal imbalance, they're not addressed. The nutritional part, like this is what you've been doing for the last 13 years, right? Give or take, that has been causing you this hormonal imbalance. There's a quick fix. That quick fix is here, take birth control. And then it's a setup. Birth control, which is either in the way of estradiol or progestins, or combination of both. The point of birth control is to fool your body into believing it's pregnant. And pregnancy is, involves millions of metabolic and hormonal pathways, right? Mm-hmm. In combination. It's a very intricate, very complex situation. And when you fool your body into believing it's pregnant, there's a level of stress that comes with that.
For years at a time, in
right.
many occasions, right?
So when a woman goes through 9 months of pregnancy, in ancient and antiquated practices, culture, women wouldn't look after their children on their own. They had a whole support team, a whole support mechanism.
The village, right?
Right, that would help her, that she wouldn't have the child on her own. So the toll that pregnancy takes on a pregnant woman, she needs to convalesce for at least 6 weeks. Now we're talking about your body believing it's pregnant, and you may be on the pill, on birth control, for 3 years.
Yeah.
2 years, 3 years, 4 years, 5 years, that your body is going through the stress of believing it's pregnant and creating pathways or cascades, hormonal cascades and metabolic processes that have been altered to cater for this phantom pregnancy, right? But again, you're being fed synthetic steroidal hormones. And black women, you have a high affinity to estrogen, a high affinity. There's a genetic polymorphism that takes place, right? Or that is an actual fact, is a thing. black people, we have a genetic polymorphism where our estrogen receptor alpha, the one that upregulates the effect of estrogen, ours is on 10 as black people. We amplify the effects of estrogen. Now, here's the thing. Estrogen is a carcinogen. It causes cancer. I'm going to say that again for those who didn't hear me. Estrogen is a carcinogen. It causes cancer, right? If it goes unchecked, if it is not highly regulated, it can cause cancer. Cancer is the extremity of inflammation. So anywhere where estradiol is unchecked and has a dominant presence, it's going to cause inflammation. Tumor is one of the cardinals of inflammation, right? Dolor or pain is another cardinal of inflammation, right? So the fallout of this is in the way of tumor, in the way of cyst or another growth, in the way of pain, in the way of bloating, in the way of swelling, right? And it starts at the teenage with girls. Now, some who don't go through that ordeal of being put onto birth control and their mothers being happy that, well, just in case she's out there, she ain't gonna get pregnant. This is standard operating procedure for gynaes to, in their expert opinion, remember, most black women are unlearned when it comes to gynecology, when it comes to the female reproductive system, when it comes to endocrinology. Some people don't even know what endocrinology means,
sure,
right? So they're unlearned, they're uneducated. So they are at the behest, in the hands of their gynecologist who they trust. And then the gynae says, here, take a pill. Take this birth control. It's going to regulate your cycle. Oh, you're bleeding. Your bleeding is irregular. Take birth control. Get on this. Oh, you have some acne. Take the birth control. You have menstrual cramps. Take birth control. And this synthesized steroid, right? Because we're talking about steroids, are put into black girls when they're undeveloped, when they're neurologically undeveloped, where they're just starting out. You know, new hormones are being introduced into their system, and then they're being amplified by these xenoestrogens. So the setup starts from there.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
No. Again, it's a great subject, a very deep subject. It says so many people are affected by this. It's amazing how it's not the leading topic in the world. And one could argue, and maybe looking at it from a slightly more sinister view, is that it affects, predominantly African American or black women. 85% of black women at some point in their life will have a female reproductive health issue.
90%.
90%. Most of them will have fibroids, and some of them have fibroids and PCOS, which then leads to infertility, and they'll have a sort of lead-on conditions as well. And here's the thing: 78 of these hysterectomies and myomectomies and surgical procedures carried out to remove, shrink, or starve, fibroids are unnecessary. But we know that 100% of them, right, can be not just cured, if we can use that word, can be eliminated, can be shrunk, it can be prevented with the right supplementation. And I want to lead that into a question we had. I think Felicia, if you're on the call, if you could please unmute your camera and your mic, we'd love to talk to you about the question you asked. Producer, if you don't mind unmuting Felicia. You can? Oh, okay. Felicia, you there?
Yes.
How are you doing? We can't see you, Felicia.
Okay.
It's a beautiful square, and love that font.
Sorry.
I'm sure you look a lot better. So, there
okay. You can see me.
Stunning.
Okay, Felicia.
Spelman in the house.
All right. So my question was basically my doctor suggested, and not even suggested, but just basically said that I should get a complete hysterectomy. And I really don't want to do that. So I was just trying to listen to see if there were or what other options I had.
Okay. How many fibroids do you have, and where are they located?
They are numerous. I probably have close to 20 fibroids. Let's see.
And what's the largest size?
I believe she said about 7 centimeters, 8
Okay.
centimeters.
Okay. And have you had children?
No.
And do you want children?
Yes.
Obviously, you wanna have the option that when you're ready, you have children. And
Exactly.
has your gynae told you that you are unable to have children?
No. No, she is not. It's just basically the fibroids are so large. And I've already had one surgery about 4 years ago to shrink the fibroids. It was just
Embolization?
yes. Yes, but that was pretty much unsuccessful because they grew back even larger.
Right.
Come back with a vengeance.
And this is the reason why is because it doesn't deal with the root cause. The root cause of the situation is, hormonal imbalance, right? Which has to be corrected. And because you're not taught any kind of nutrition, and your gynae is not going to tell you to cut this food out and that food out and to incorporate these other foods which will inhibit both the estrogen production, but also aromatase. There's an enzyme that we as black people, we produce an abundance of, more so than any other race. It's called aromatase, right? And aromatase basically converts androgens into estrogens, right? In particular, estradiol. And estradiol is what does all the damage. So any estrogenic substances that comes into the body, we upregulate those effects. But also, we produce all this aromatase. So when we produce any androgens, and your ovaries produce progesterone and it produces testosterone. Testosterone also gets converted into more estrogen. So your body becomes overly inundated with estrogen, right? And then estrogen goes to work on your cells and diffuses across cell membrane and slows down mitochondria, attacks mitochondria, and leaves cells without energy. And then cells now become recognized as foreign, and it causes white blood cells, leukocytes, to attack the cells and causes tumor, causes inflammation, and then there's cellular proliferation of these inflamed cells, and you end up with this muscular tissue in the way of these fibroids. So by stopping the estrogen, right, by regulating estrogen, that's the way to reduce the fibroids naturally, internally, without having to get surgery or anything like that. And the way how the body works, for every ailment or condition, there's pathways that has to take. When you stop those pathways, it's we hear about follow the science. When you stop a pathway, you stop a disease, you stop a condition. So the protocol that we've put together, what we've formulated, is to inhibit the estrogen, the production of estrogen, and to inhibit the production of aromatase. And we do that by way of nutrients and by way of dietary, changing your diet. So we have supplementation that will work on the actual tumors themselves, and then supplementation that deals with the inhibition of estrogen production and aromatase production. So with that, you naturally will start to see shrinkage. And not only does it deal with the fibroids, it actually deals with all the surrounding issues. It deals with the bloating, it deals with the irregular bleeding, the heavy bleeding, the menstrual cramps, headaches, thyroid issues, you know, the list goes on. So it's really, you know, our fibroid elimination protocol, we call it the Her Elimination Kit as well. Her elimination, meaning it helps with the majority of female reproductive issues by dealing with the root cause.
Okay.
So that's the only option that she's given you, is hysterectomy, nothing else.
No, especially since I already tried the non-invasive procedure, then that was it.
And you've never had a myomectomy where they've cut the fibroids?
No.
Did she say that the fibroids were in positions, were located where it would be too risky to do myomectomy? But not that I advocate myomectomies anyway, but myomectomy is a much better option than a hysterectomy, because the hysterectomy is the removal of your womb.
Mm-hmm.
And it will put you into menopause.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
know,
but she explained it, whereas the myomectomy is too risky because you will possibly lose too much blood and your uterus may not naturally come back together like it's supposed to. So she may still end up having to do a hysterectomy.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
So, Dr. Emerson, I know you probably don't want to do that, but I want to jump in here, and I think I don't mind repeating it several times. So, sorry, let me just switch back to the main screen here. So Felicia, you've come to a great platform where we believe, you know, maybe we're a little bit biased, but as I mentioned, so Dr. Amsley wrote the book, you know, the Got Fibroids, the Fibroid Elimination Bible. Maybe we'll stick a link to that in the chat if we can find it. Their producer, Hakim. Look, we're going to cut to the chase. And again, we don't mind having a conversation. We'll field questions. We do private consultations. You can email us questions. We have a customer service on our website. We are very open. We don't hide anywhere. The reason why we're doing these forums is because we stand by what we do. The Fibroid Elimination Program, or the Great Black Fibroid Detox, has been formulated and put together specifically to allow women to enable their bodies to heal themselves. You see, your body can heal itself. It just needs the right tools. So you're not going to go in and squeeze the fibroid with your hand. A lot of these surgical procedures are going in and physically interacting with your fibroid. But a physical interaction wasn't the cause of your fibroids. Your fibroids weren't caused through surgery. Why are they solved through surgery? Let's look at the reason they were caused. And so these herbal supplements, I'm holding up a few, you probably won't be able to read them. We'll put links to them in the chat, and you may have seen them on our website, are formulated to provide the nutrients specifically for our bodies to go in and remove or battle the estrogen dominance, okay, to starve the fibroids of the food that's feeding them, which is estrogenic foods, which is also stress, right? Which is also chemicals, which is endocrine disrupting chemicals, which is the phthalates, and we'll talk about all those things. All of these things we're being bombarded with, and we are feeding ourselves through processed food and through our environment. We need to eradicate. So through the right supplementation and the right dieting or the right nutrition, we know, and this isn't something we're just saying now, we know we've been doing this is why we're here, that women can eradicate their fibroids, can shrink fibroids, can absolutely eliminate their fibroids. And, you know, we'll tell you some really good stories and some horror stories, maybe if you want to hear them, a little bit graphic, because what it is, and Dr. Amsel may talk about this, and Dr. Keeler probably as well. Remember, fibroids and symptoms are not the same for every single person, right? And there are so many factors as to how fibroids are expressed in you as an individual. We know this now, you know, if you put 100 women in a room, they don't all have exact same symptoms when it comes to, like, say, period pain or the amount they bleed or the cramping. Some will say, I don't have any cramping. I've never had a problem with my cycle, right? But that person may be overweight. Or a person may be overweight and have a hellish time every month of their cycle. So there isn't one size fits all. But what we're finding in the pharmaceutical world and in the surgical world is, of course, one size fits all. The reason why we have these conversations, we have the consultations, Dr. Amster's written a book, is that every individual gets their lab work, gets their blood work, gets their analysis. So we get a physical representation of what fibroids are, where they're located, how many you have, what size they are. Then we can put you on a plan, a personal plan to eradicate them. And I'm telling you, and you may have watched some of the testimonial videos, some of the stories on our website. Women get on our program, and within days, I've had a woman calling me angry. What did you give me? What's that stuff you gave me? So what happened? I'm thinking, maybe she got the poison batch. She said her libido's gone up, and she knows it was a supplement that I gave her. Because what's happening is it's interacting. What it is hormonal balance. We bring homeostasis back. The problem is hormonal balance. There is so much hormonal imbalance within women that they have normalized the period pain. They have normalized the cramping. They have normalized the heavy bleeding. They have normalized the extended periods. That's why, oh, girl, listen to me, I'm starting to go. Girl, I heard someone say that, oh, my period was, 2 whole weeks this time, or 7 days, or 9 days. Man, I was bleeding. I couldn't leave the house. I was bleeding so much. Girl, that's me too. It's normalized. Dr. Amsi, what's the truth about, let's start from there, about bleeding. Something I remember you went on the Breakfast Club and you spoke about this, and it went viral because it blew so many people's minds about bleeding. What is the truth about hemorrhaging is what we find, right, Dr. Amsi?
Right. Women are not supposed to bleed during their cycles, as they do. You're supposed to have like a teaspoon over 3 days, a teaspoon worth of bleeding, because it's basically you're shedding the egg. That's it. That's what you're doing. How big is the egg? Dr. Keeler, how big is the egg? How big is the egg?
I think Dr. Keeler's muted, producer. Oh, no, he's over there now.
Are you in?
Yes.
Right.
It's really not bigger than the head of a pin, or even smaller. It's very, very small compared to a sperm. But that shouldn't even give you a whole lot of bleeding. It's like popping a pimple.
Mm-hmm. There you go. Women are supposed to spot during menses. That's what's natural. And we see it with female athletes, women who are active in sports. They don't bleed. They don't hemorrhage, right? They spot for a couple of days and they keep it moving. What comes with the normalized menses is cramps, mood swings, heavy bleeding, bucket loads, anemia, right? And it's to be expected, but it shouldn't be. And when black women are going through it because of the genetic polymorphism, they say that it's hereditary. Your fibroids are hereditary, just like your mama, just like your grandma, just like your auntie and your cousin, right? And fibroids are not hereditary. There is no gene for fibroids. There is no gene for fibroids. So when your gynae tells you it's hereditary, say, what's the name of that gene? Ask them, what's the name of that gene? Tell me that name. I'm going to look it up tonight. That why I've inherited this gene. There is no gene. And that lie, what it does, it makes black women accept the condition. It makes them accept a disease. Rather than, here's how to prevent yourself getting fibroids. And it's in things, standard operating procedures of women is when y'all turn teenage, you want to wear makeup. You can't wait to wear makeup. You want to be big women and you will wear makeup. And the substances, the chemicals in your makeup are highly estrogenic. They contain plastics. They contain a substance, a chemical, or a group of chemical called phthalates. These phthalates are highly estrogenic. They disrupt your endocrine system. They create hormonal imbalance that attack cells, that attack glands. They disrupt your endocrine system. So just by being girls, you're put at risk by these, these peripherals that are considered part of growing up. So you're put at risk. Then there's, the old habits of us as black people anyway, whether you're from Africa, from the West Indies, or from the United States. We grew up and we don't want to be ashy, so we use Vaseline. We use petrochemicals, whether it was Red Fox cocoa butter, right? Or Dax hair oil. These are all petrochemicals. Petrochemicals are highly estrogenic. So when we place them on our skin and we don't want to be ashy, so we smother ourselves in it and it seeps, it's absorbed through our skin straight into our bloodstream. So as children, we're setting ourselves up. As little girls, you're already on the way for hormonal imbalance. So by the time you hit puberty, this is what is one of the culprits for your hormonal imbalance. And then comes the birth control. And then comes the alcohol and the coffee and the flax seeds and the soy. I don't want to eat meat. I heard somewhere that we need to be vegan. So it's like, all right, I'm going to have meat alternative. So all these things, and because your parents were not educated, you just carried on the cycle, the endless cycle. Then one day you got fibroids. What's a fibroid? Oh, it's a tumorous growth in the uterus.
Yeah. So, guys, again, if you have questions, please don't be shy. Ask questions. I know Ruth was telling us. I want to speak to a young lady on the call. I'm going to put a few people on the spot, which I hope you don't mind. Producer, get ready to unmute Sarah Spencer, who's been on the call since the beginning. Producer. And Sarah with a beautiful smile. I just want to know and understand, why you guys are here. We're here to help. I just want to know a little bit about your story. And here's the thing, guys. We say this all the time. What you share about your story helps a lot of people, because a lot of people have been going through pain and going through some conditions for sometimes decades. And again, because of normalization, they never hear that was actually a problem. Not only was it a problem, it was something that could have been eradicated had they have known. We have women that have had hysterectomies. They never had children. They can't have children now because of fibroids. Sarah, tell us.
So I ended up tuning in because I have recently been diagnosed with fibroids. And I've actually heard about fibroids throughout my probably entire life, and talking to the various women in my family who they have gone through myomectomies, hysterectomies, pretty much any and everything that is out there that a doctor, the OBGYN has, told them to do to resolve it. And so I was just kind of curious about it because similar to what you all have been speaking on, just a matter of surgery is not necessarily the cure. There was something that happened in your body that caused this to happen, that caused this fibroid to form. And so I'm now doing research to try to figure out, okay, well, what was it that caused it? Because for my mom, who went through pretty much everything there was before it was, before she had her hysterectomy, she told me that they kept coming back. So that then tells me that, well, these surgeries are just temporary fixes, and it doesn't necessarily fix what the root cause is in the body. And so that's one of the reasons why I was tuning in, because I am curious to learn more about what's going on and what's causing it. For me, I have 4 fibroids. The largest one is 9.1 centimeters, and I'm not that big at all. I'm not that big at all. And to a certain degree, I feel like I can actually feel my fibroids where they are because I am so small. And so it's just, again, one of those things of like, I'm just curious. And in my younger years, I know I look young, and I am to a certain extent, but in my younger years, when I was more athletic and, doing those various different workouts and things like that, as you have mentioned, athletes, we at that time, my cycles did not last long at all. They were super, super light, which is the total complete opposite to what I'm currently going through now. And I do know I'm not as athletic as I was back then. So it's just, I'm just curious in learning it. And just as far as before I take the route on, even entertaining the thought of doing these different types of surgeries to help resolve things, what else is it that I can do before I get to that point? Is it that I do change up how I'm eating? Do I need to go vegan? Do I need to do raw diet? What is it? What is out there for me to try to see how my body responds? And I do understand that everybody's body is different, and how my body may respond to herbs and supplements may be completely different to someone else. But I am still open to hearing and listening, learning and experimenting, trying different various healthy, natural ways to resolve these fibroids.
Okay, so, all right, so everybody is different, right? Even identical twins will have different epigenetics through just how they live their lives, right? And where they've been and whatever, right? So no two people are identical. True. So the way how estrogen dominance is expressed in your body is going to be different to how it's expressed in other people. But there are commonalities by way of, all right, you've got fibroids. The size of those fibroids will be different. The positioning, the type of fibroids, whether they are subserosal, pedunculated, submucosal, or intramural, this is how your body is expressing it by way of your epigenetics, right? The way how you've lived your lives. The way how much Dax you use as a child, how much Vaseline you use, what makeup you wear, how often a week you eat dairy, right? If you've ever drunk alcohol, how many times a day you drink coffee, right? All these factors, these cofactors, which have contributed to estrogen dominance, and then how your body expresses it, that's unique to you. But in that same way, when you start to counter these cofactors, your fibroids might disappear within 60 days. Or you find that your bleeding subsides first. Or if you got pain, that subsides, that diminishes first. So the way how your body heals, that pathway to healing will be unique to you. But healing still takes place because we're dealing with chemistry here, right? And you was on the call yesterday, and I loved how, Dr. Keeler gave a whole breakdown about the body being physical, right? The body is made up of physics and chemistry, right? So the chemistry of the body determines the physiology of the body, the way how the body performs, right? The physical pathways by way of the chemical pathways, right? So the pathways in your body, when it receives these supplements, it's going to form its own correction, right? So the way how your body expresses itself while it's being corrected may be different from Mary, right? But it will get there over time by correcting and omitting specific substances from your diet, omitting substances from your from infiltrating your skin, breaching your skin, or breaching your lungs, what you inhale, right? So wherever you have a voluntary action, you make the right choice. There's the involuntary, right? i.e. you walk outside into the open world, you don't have any control of what's floating around, right? So you ain't got no control over what you inhale outside, but in your home you do, right? So there are things that you have in your home right now that contribute to your fibroids. They are called endocrine disrupting chemicals. And they're in, what detergent do you use to wash your clothes?
Tide.
Tide. I knew it was going to be Tide, I almost said Tide. But Tide, the ingredients of Tide, your detergent, are xenoestrogens. They're endocrine disrupting chemicals. Then what do you use to polish your furniture? Do you use bleach in your home?
I do.
Bleach is an endocrine disrupting chemical. Ammonia disrupts your endocrine system. Then what air fresheners do you use? What do you use in your car?
I don't use anything in my car, or whatnot. But here in the house, I actually burn the methanol crystals from time to time if I want freshness smell in my house, or I just open up the window. I like that outdoor smell. So
okay, so you're letting in the pollution from outside. And here's the thing.
When you say it like that,
And here's the thing, right? So when you live, we live basically in incubators. Your home is an incubator. It doesn't let it out. And I'm not talking about you specifically, but most of us, some people who do not open their windows to let fresh air in, and they have the air on, right? They have these air filters in the home, which are not very good. They're cheap, because how much are they? They're like $250 per filter, right? How good is a $250 filter, right? So you have circulating air, and everything that's in the air is going in through the inlet and coming out, and it's trapped. You're trapped with all these detergents, the smells, right? So Mr. Breaks likes to talk about when you go down an aisle, when you're in Walmart or Kroger or wherever you go to your supermarket, and you go down and you pass the aisle that has detergents, all the washing detergents in it. You smell it. Those are all artificial scents, aromas, made of chemicals. And if you can breathe it in, it means it's entering into your system. When you can smell it, it's entering into your system, getting into your lungs, getting into your bloodstream, right? So that's that. Then there's the furniture polishers, right? Then there's the carpet, the shake and vac or whatever you use, right? There's the Febreze, right? The Febreze. Summer comes around, them pesky mosquitoes, I'm putting on off. Spray myself with some off. All of these things are endocrine disrupting chemicals.
It's going back to the normalization. They've helped us normalize chemical use, right? Now remember, everything's chemical, right? Your saliva's chemical in your mouth. We get that. We're talking about harmful chemicals and synthesize endocrine disrupting chemicals which alter your hormone balance, which alter your genes, chemicals which tell your body, hey, hold on, that shouldn't be up, it should be down. That shouldn't be left, it should be right. Regardless of what this is happening at a molecular level, okay? Now, check this out. I want to share something, so don't go anywhere. We had a question from Jadette Hayward. She's on the YouTube, and I want to bring it in because it's on the topic we're on now.
Okay.
And she's asking, what are the chemicals, what are the endocrine disrupting chemicals help to cause fibroids, right? Now, what I would like to do, Dr. Keeler and Dr. Amsi, if you could help everyone understand the correlation between the chemicals and the fibroids, because I think there's a misconception that a particular chemical directly causes fibroids. Help me if I'm wrong, and keep me honest, Dr. Amsu. It's the chemicals disrupting your hormonal balance, and your body is responding by storing the chemicals or trying to. It's the way your body knows how to respond. It's, I don't know what to do with this. I'm going to put it somewhere. And isn't this how tumors are formed, Dr. Amsu, Dr. Keeler? Okay,
so Dr. Keeler, I'm going to let you come in, but let me just say this real quick, right? Every substance that enters into our body, when we're metabolizing any substance, right, the metabolic process does not happen without them binding to a receptor to enter into our cells. So basically, all substances that enter our bodies, they're not going to interact with us unless they bind to a cell. So they look for, basically our cells try to receive any chemical by saying, all right, here's what you bind to. So our cells have, billions of receptors on them, right? So this is happening at a molecular level, right? So these endocrine disrupting chemicals are binding to the estrogen receptor, right? So the closest match. So if you understand, our cells are locked. There's no way in. You need a key. That key needs a keyhole. So the key closely matches the keyhole. And all these synthetic chemicals that have been produced since the discovery of plastic, right? And petrol, these petrochemicals and that, they have what we call estrogenic properties. They closely match estrogen. So when they enter our bodies, they bind to our estrogen receptors. And unfortunately for us black people, our estrogen receptor alpha is highly active. It upregulates the effects of these chemicals. So we're ain't like, all right, chemical A, and chemical A is totally responsible for this. It's how our body, how our cells are receiving it. Dr. Keela.
Yes, pleasant afternoon. So what Dr. Amsu is describing is a communication system, a communication relay. And basically, where do we get petrochemicals? They come from the decayed remains of animals and plants that existed before we did. Unless you've seen a human or an animal body degrade, you have no idea the amount of oil that can be produced by decaying flesh. And what's stored in that oil, well, that oil really was fat that got degraded by the bacteria that ate its way out of the gut and into all the other tissues to degrade the tissue enough to where it could be returned to soil and broken down by microbes in soil. Now, when that animal was alive, that animal ate plants or other animals that ate plants. And there are enough phytoestrogens, enough plant estrogens in plants where if there's excess, it accumulates in the fatty tissues. So when they drill for oil, they're really drilling for liquefied death. Yep. Liquefied dead animal tissue. So when the oil industry years ago recognized offshore drilling, they were getting this sludge in their machinery that they had to constantly clean. They figured, let's not waste it. We can find a use for it. Vaseline. And then now it's supposed to be safe enough to put on babies to prevent diaper rash. And safe enough to put on cracked nipples of nursing moms and the baby consumes it. It's liquid death. And then this stuff gets in your system either through absorbing through your tissues, which are fatty, as I described last week. Imagine a picture of a lake with trees, and you see the trees above, the sky above the trees, and the reflection of the tree line, the trees, and the sky. Well, that reflection looks pretty much like what our cell membranes look like. Lipids on two sides, and then above that water and below that water. Because the air we breathe has a lot of water in it. It's an ocean, but a vaporized ocean, as opposed to the liquid ocean below. Okay, so we're storing the body treat. Here's a good analogy. When the body doesn't find itself equipped to deal with something, it walls it off like Dr. Amsu said. Prime example, TB. The lungs will wall off TB until the lungs can garner enough arsenal to eat through that calcium eggshell wall that they put around it and then the tissue beneath. Well, it does the same with toxins. And the place in our bodies that is most like a swamp. Not the regular reed swamp, which is the kidneys, but the marsh bog swamp, like you see in places like Louisiana where it smells like swamp. That's the liver. And the liver handles a lot of fat and fatty substances. That includes fatty vitamins, A, D, K, and E, CoQ10, which is an antioxidant, and a number of other fatty materials. C is water soluble, like the B vitamins, okay? Those will be handled by your kidneys. But the fat soluble stuff is handled primarily by the liver. And then you have fatty tissues in your brain, every brain. You have fatty tissue in your cerebral brain, fatty tissue in some of your cardiac fat that's kind of surrounds the heart, but is not supposed to be too concentrated. Fatty tissue in the walls of your gut, which is a brain in and of itself, and the omentum. Fatty tissues in your gonads, your reproductive organs, because you need to have certain amount of energy localized. If you're taking things that mimic estrogen, so that's bisphenol A, phthalates, there's a whole host of them, a whole host. Those things are going to get stored in the fat until the liver can deal with them. In the meantime, they're toxifying anywhere they're stored and mimicking estrogen. And estrogen literally binds estrogen receptor and changes gene expression, because it's like a rancher on a horse on a trail, and you cannot walk a trail without changing that trail. And so as a result, you get all these estrogenic communication that get you estrogenic effects. And all of this is going on while you're trying to smell sexy and get some sex. And you don't know that you're actually harming yourself.
Right.
And all of this is happening while you're trying to have sex and not get pregnant, with the estrogen secreting with minimal progesterone containing birth control, whether it's in the IUD or the diaphragm or the pill or whatever. And so the whole time your body is responding to estrogen as it's programmed to respond, and it's just making more cells and encouraging those cells to ignore certain checkpoints that would check for any mutations. And when those cells start to ignore certain cell cycle checkpoints, they happen just like in the military at certain times in the cell cycle. What ends up happening is the mutations multiply, and you multiply the cells that have the mutations. Now you have a tumor. If it starts to ignore even more checkpoints, now you start producing enzymes that actually degrade normal tissues around it. And now the tumor starts to migrate. Now you have a metastasis. That's called an invasive cancer. So it matters what we put on ourselves and where we source it, because everything around us and in us is signal. Towers are signal, water is signal,
Right.
Food is signal, air is signal, oxygen is signal, injury is signal, egg entering the realm of the sperm is signal. And everything we do alters all other signals. You cannot walk a path and not change that path.
Absolutely. Dr. Keela, thank you much for that very thorough breakdown. Guys, if you didn't appreciate Dr. Keela, and it's your first time you're in awe, you need to come back. You know, we're here every Thursday. We have a general call. We like to host a fibroid one on Fridays. Again, a safe space for people to talk about their situation, their journey, their goals and aspirations, and to get answers, because we're not getting answers out there. We're not getting answers from our doctors. We're definitely not getting answers from the media. Definitely a lot from Megan Thee Stallion. I'll tell you that much. You might know where to buy, a good hookah. But listen, I want to hear from a few more people. But I just wanted to, Kia, I know Kia on here. If we can unmute Kia's camera and her mic, please. Kia was asking a very profound question, one we get a lot. Kia's saying, look, sounds like we're all doomed, all the way, right, around the board. We can't go anywhere, we can't eat anything, we can't do anything. And that's the way it feels sometimes. And the reason for that? We've been lied to for so long. The truth has been suppressed for so long, and it's been hidden for so long. We are now in a place where almost everything around us is poison. Almost everything around us is poison. Dr. Hampton, go ahead.
The reason why we believe, man, I can't eat nothing, man, I can't do nothing, is because we have been cultured. We've been cultured into this standard operating procedure that has been built, that has been constructed, that has been formulated, right? There's a cabal of institutions that work together, and whether it's through TV or what's taught in schools or what's taught in church, whatever it is, we're led down this pathway. So think about this. You have, for example, in the holy books that pork is not good, right? But yet, you go to any church, most churches, right? I'm not saying all churches, most churches, you're indoctrinated not through the Bible, but through the culture of the church, the socio-engineering that takes place, that it's okay to eat pork, right? So this puts you on a pathway of toxins, right? So society in general, gynecologists, they create this gynecological pathway, this cycle, right? Where no young girls are told not to eat specific substances or put specific substances on their skin, not to interact with certain things, right? They're not taught that. So by the time they enter puberty, they're already on their way to being a mess, to being a hot mess, right? Then they're put onto birth control. Then, to even further protect themselves, their sexual partners, when they start having sex, and if they do come off birth control, wear a condom, right? Which is more petrochemical, plastic or rubber, right? More of that. And even the spermicides being used are in gels that are petrochemicals, right? The IUDs that are used, whether they're hormonal or non-hormonal, you have copper IUD, which upsets the pH and can cause blood clots and that. But then there's the actual growths, the conditions that take place, the fibroids, the adenomyosis, the endometriosis, the ovarian cysts, and we're going to monitor them. They're only small. We're going to monitor them. And then you come back 8 months, a year later, and it's, oh, they're really big. We have to operate. We're going to have to give you a hysterectomy. Then following hysterectomy is hormone replacement treatment.
I think Kia, we know you're muted. Kia, you had your hand raised. Kia, did you want to add or ask a question? Kia, you there? Oh, did we mute Kia?
Yes, I'm here.
Go ahead, Kia.
I would like to just ask a question about, if I stop eating all those foods, so because I really don't eat a whole lot of foods like that. I'm partially a vegan. I just eat fish. But most of the stuff like pork and all that, I've been stopped eating like 25 years ago. I don't eat beef. I don't eat pork. I don't eat chicken. Most of that stuff I stopped eating like maybe 10 to 25 years ago. So, and I still have my fibroids. So I'm just trying to understand, like, what will it take to get rid of them? It's like you guys say that if you change your diet and do the supplements that you can get rid of them naturally. And I've been having this argument with my doctor for a minute. So I'm going to try to get rid of mine naturally. And just the other day, she was like, well, it looked like it may be growing. You said you was going to try to get rid of it naturally. So it's like, I'm just getting a bit discouraged. Maybe it's something I'm not doing right.
Okay, so Kia, all right, this is about lifestyle. So diet is one cofactor, right? Is only one of the cofactors. There are many. So what are you putting onto your skin? You know, what are you using for lotion? What do
Yeah,
you use on your
I
hair?
only use coconut oil, and then I also have this natural based oil product by Mama Sita that I use, and it's all natural. I don't use anything that has chemicals in, not even soap, not even toothpaste. I'm particular about everything. I've been researching everything.
Right. So do you take supplements?
Yes.
Which
I took you
supplements?
guys supplements for 4 months. I took
Okay.
you guys supplements for 4 months, yeah.
All right. So have you been doing the Qigong?
Have I been doing the what?
The Qigong exercises.
No, I have not. I haven't had the time to really focus on
Okay.
it.
And-
But I am heavy in the gym though. I lift weights and I work out hard in the gym.
And let me ask you this. Have you detoxed your home by way of removing the endocrine disrupting chemicals that you have in your household?
Like what? Like the cleaning products?
The cleaning products, yes. Your detergent.
Well, that's something I'll probably have to do because I do still use Tide and stuff
Right.
like that. But
So
cleaning products, I still use regular cleaning products.
right. So here's the thing. This all works in combination, but the supplements are going to get in there and do what they have to do to inhibit and to reestablish balance in your hormones. But you have to do your best to stop all those substances that you may have in your environment, because when you inhale something, it's going to get to your bloodstream faster than if you eat something.
Wow.
If you put something on your skin, it's going to absorb into your skin and you know, in our digestive tract, right? In our gastrointestinal system, we have, checkpoints to deal with toxic substances. The way how we digest and the way how it goes to the metabolic process, right? We have acids and we have enzymes and that can denature things. So there's a level of protection, and we have bacteria, right? Good bacteria, which also help to break stuff down and help to put stuff out as waste, right? But when something is put onto your skin or it's inhaled, there's a short, fast track to the bloodstream. And it's all about the guarding of the bloodstream, right? So there are gatekeepers that we have. Now, when we inhale these things, and stuff that we wear, even in clothing that we wear, we wear nylon. Most of our clothing that we wear have plastics in it, so we're open to microplastics. We are susceptible to nanoplastics, which are even smaller. So we ingest about 1 credit card of plastic. The average person ingests a whole credit card of plastic every month. Every month. And these plastics contain phthalates and bisphenol A's, which have estrogenic effect. So we're constantly under attack. So when we change our diets and we change our lifestyle, we actually start moving towards a direction where we lessen the amount of estrogens that circulate throughout our body. And it takes time. So some people, it may take a longer period of time to see good results, but on the journey towards that, there are improvements in symptoms if you are symptomatic.
I am symptomatic, and I can honestly say, like, when I was taking the supplements and everything, my menstrual cycle got lighter, and it was fewer days. I would normally stay on for like 7 or 8 days, and I think it went down. Yeah, it went down to like maybe like 4 4 days.
Right. So right there, that's how your body is correct. That's the pathway how your body is expressing its homeostasis. It's getting there. So just by that alone, you know your body's moving in the right direction. And that's what this is about. It's about your body moving in the right direction towards homeostasis, balance. So don't become discouraged. And you know, I have a particular beef with gynecologists, because they're not going to tell you, you know, oh, has your cycle improved? What's your bleeding like? What's your, you know, has the pain subsided? You know, if you have cramps, they're like, oh, you look, oh, it looks like they're getting bigger. So they try to discourage you from the natural path and say, you know what, we need surgery. And it's going to be, you best get a hysterectomy, because if you don't, here's what's going to be affected. And it's a trap. So that when you get that hysterectomy, now you're going to need HRT.
What's that?
Hormone replacement therapy. Because when you have a hysterectomy, you put yourself into menopause, immediate menopause. And with menopause, that means a total decline in your progesterone, a decline in the testosterone, a decline in estrogen. But estrogen, you're being bombarded with estrogens all around. So you're getting all these xenoestrogens in, and the only place where you're producing any testosterone or progesterone is from your adrenals. And then life stresses leaves you with adrenal fatigue. And then progesterone, you know, metabolites from progesterone are utilized, or progesterone is in the pathway of creating cortisol, right? So the more cortisol you produce is the less progesterone you use or produce. This means estrogen dominance. So everything that was going on with you, that you have fibroids, now your body's going to be, all right, there's no uterus anymore. So where do we attack next as estrogen? It's going to be your thyroid. It's going to be your breasts. It's going to be your liver.
Oh, God.
You know? And then they give you hormone replacement therapy, which is more estrogen, or progestin, which is a synthetic progesterone, or combination of the two. And HRT is well known for breast cancer and ovarian cancer.
Oh, God.
Right? So it's out of the frying pan into a fire, where, you know, and this is my big beef with gynecologists. They scare you into getting a hysterectomy and don't tell you what's going to come after that hysterectomy. Apart from, oh, you've already had children. Think about it, no more periods. All that cramping you're going through, it's gone.
It's a form of coercion, isn't it? Kia, we'd love to talk to you more. Please don't go anywhere. I got a feeling we're going to hear more from you on your journey and your story. I think Laverne is next with a question, but I want to ask Dr. Keela. I know Dr. Keela is driving. Did you have to add something to that comment? And then we'll go to Laverne, if you don't mind, Laverne.
Yes. One of the things a lot of Black people don't acknowledge is their level of stress. Whether that stress is job related or interpersonal or financial or whatever. And one of the things that they don't teach in school, whether it's in high school, college for reproductive health classes, or in nursing or medical or pharmacy school, is that when you're talking about onset of labor, and it relates back to what they're talking about, we often think onset of labor is contractions, but what causes the contractions? It's not just that cortisol and the pituitary and hypothalamic hormones that result in, the pituitary hormones that result in cortisol secretion initiate cortisol. What happens is there's a withdrawal of progesterone. Progesterone is what's necessary to maintain the pregnancy, to maintain the uterus in a happy, healthy,
Right.
non-inflammatory state. Well, if you're stressed out all the time for any reason, even if you're not pregnant, you're going to, like Dr. Amsu mentioned, reroute your what would have relaxed your uterus and kept everything nice and peaceful and hormonally balanced. You're going to remove that level of hormonal peace, the peace signal, progesterone, and you end up proliferating, end up making more of cells that are inflammatory. And anytime you make more inflammatory cells as a result of estrogen, cortisol, or the both of them, tumors get really difficult to get rid of. People talk about being an adult and being responsible, which is great, but nobody really teaches people how to relax. Relaxation literally has to be your daily priority no matter what's going on. And at times you may have to become Captain Don't Give a Hoot. Like just triage stuff. These are the things that matter today. Because if you don't, your tumors will rule you because of hormonal imbalance. And the only way that you can really force relaxation in your body is it's a combination of changing how you go about your day-to-day routine, and that includes your sleep habits, your sleeping routine. It includes what you eat. A lot of things that relax our bodies are actually in the plants. The methyl groups, the magnesium, the potassium, all in green leafy plants as well as many fruits. And if we're eating canned fruits, mommy, if we're eating canned fruits, that's not getting the job done. We need the fresh fruits, and if we can't do fresh, then frozen, but do as much fresh as you can, because you need that chemical sunlight, that natural chemical sunlight, which is stored in the fruits and in the vegetables. And those will feed your body the minerals and the vitamins that will help you preferentially relax, because you'll load with potassium, magnesium. You'll load with a lot of the other antioxidants that are glutathione in glutathione rich foods. You'll load with CoQ10. You'll use energy more efficiently, be more relaxed as you do it, and then create an entire ocean of hormones that do not promote tumor growth. Indeed. Which makes it easier to get rid of the tumors.
Indeed. And Dr. Keeler, thank you for that breakdown. And I just wanted to add as well, and we may come back to it, maybe the two of you would want to elaborate on that. Kia, for example, I think she's still here, we're talking about, she's been eating quite clean, eating a lot of vegetables, sort of partially vegan, but she only eats fish, right? One of the cleverest, most surreptitious schemes they've had out there is to convince a lot of people that fish isn't meat and that fish is better than meat. And, people don't eat beef and they don't eat chicken, they don't eat lamb, just they eat fish sometimes. They've not told you how bad fish is. And fish is often worse than meat because of the way fish are raised, the way fish are fed, and the way fish are colored through feed, the way they feed antibiotics and toxins to fish, and the way they allow fish to breed in tanks and who are highly stressed and living in a pool of feces. But we'll come back to that. I want to go to Laverne. Laverne, tell us your favorite fish.
My favorite fish?
Yeah.
5 that Jesus used when he the 5 fish and the 5 loaves and the 2 fish, or however
that was tilapia.
Yeah, that's my favorite fish. That was the best fish.
It was tilapia, apparently, according to some archaeologists. I don't know.
Yeah, but okay, because I'm listening to the conversation and everything's being said, and 2 things I want to say. First of all, when you mentioned the church, okay, that is true for some churches because of, I would say, level of ignorance. But we have to be careful because those of us that come on this Zoom, some of us are believers. I am, and all that you're doing, I always say I do believe in it, because not because I love you so much. I'm sorry, I do I like you guys, but
We love you
because
too,
of
Laverne.
but because of what I read in the Bible, I'm sorry, everybody has their own religion. I read in the Bible that every herb on this earth, every plant, God spoke it and it came to existence. That's where you extracting your nutrients from to give me to heal my body. That's why I believe in what you're doing.
Right.
So the church, when it comes to the church, there are some of us yet that might be ignorant, or some of us who choose to be arrogant after receiving the knowledge that these things are good for us. But we have to be careful, because not all of us are in that path or the church, per se. And I would say because of ignorance, that the church, some people in the church believe I can eat anything. And because I believe Jesus is a healer, he's going to heal me. No, that's not how we do it. And not everybody believes that way as a church or believer or even preaches the gospel. Because before I encounter you, I've been listening to other doctors. The only difference that with them, they are Caucasian, and what as pertaining to our bodies as people of color, I don't think they know it. But they're preaching the same gospel. They're doctors, they're believers, they're doing the same thing what you're doing. Give up their medical, the PhD, wouldn't renew their license because they're not practicing that anymore. They're practicing alternative medicine. So I just want to say there are those of people, and I know pastors that if I name some of them, are well known, who live a healthy lifestyle and preaches it from their pulpit. So when we say that, we got to be careful, because not every believer church is preaching that it's okay to do something that violates our the natural health laws, or will cause our bodies to be sick. Yes, there's some that do that, and like I said, I'm one that is on this path more so because I believe in what you're doing, because I believe the book. And number two, I heard Dr. K talking about stress, and something that I don't hear people mention a lot is also meditation and prayer that relaxes the body and relaxes you. Because if I'm for me again, I'm saying me, if I'm in a stressful situation, I resort to my prayer life. And when I go into prayer, I can always tell everybody I come out feeling better, I'm more relaxed. And I'm going to end by saying, the book that I read, the Bible said that do not worry. I'm just paraphrasing, right? It says to me, if I am worrying, I am sinning, literally sinning against God, because God does not want us to worry or stress, but to trust and believe in him. So I think when we are, I'm not expecting you to preach the gospel because you're a doctor. And I'm not thinking my problem. I always say the thing is that you have the preacher that is, preaching the word of God, and he believes and it's true. And then you have the doctors like you who are preaching the natural health laws, which is true. And my thing is why the two can't come together and see that you're connected. And both of you together can really bring some healing to people's body.
Laverne,
they're not connected. That's why the oath that you take contradicts the other stuff that the word requires us to do as human beings. And a lot of people don't know that. And a lot of doctors at graduation, when we take this oath, we don't know it either. It's not until we have to read when we can't resolve our patients' issues according to the standard algorithms we are taught, that we have to go back to the word, right, to find answers that are more specific to the problem. And what ends up happening is, at some point, you end up having to make a choice. Are you going to do good or live well? You try to find that narrow path that keeps you on both, but it's not easy. And because generationally people have been indoctrinated against what is healthy in favor of what is convenient, the community that fights us most are the people who look just like us. I never have problems when I'm teaching this to people who don't look like me.
That's true.
I have the most resistance from people who look like me. Just last Friday, I went to Walmart to solve a plumbing issue, and I saw more Black women walking with their cell phones over their uteruses and ovaries. I even saw one in an automated cart that was like 7-8 months pregnant, and she had her cell phone in her pocket over her abundantly pregnant belly. I gently pulled her aside and said, "Ma'am, you're exposing your reproductive organs and your unborn child to an incredible amount of radiation." Her response was, "Thank you." Did you see my reaction? How her body language? The other lady who was not pregnant, who obviously had some estrogen issues going on because she was younger than me, okay? Significantly younger than me. She had a panis, which is what we call an overhang. In common terms, it's called Dunlop. The belly Dunlop over the waistline. Okay? And she's carrying her cell phone in her sweatpants over her left ovary and the left side of her uterus, and she was with her significant other. I said, "Ma'am, your business, your choice. But if you want to prevent tumors and other reproductive issues in the now and in the future, you'll find another way to carry that cell phone and not in your back pocket."
Right.
The same reaction.
Yeah.
Oh, thank you.
Mind your business.
So what it is a stubbornness in our community. We don't respect those of us that have the knowledge. And what ends up happening is we're programmed to trust more people who don't look like us. And the irony is when we have clients that don't look like us and they see we made it through, they know we know more than the people that look like them.
Right. Dr. Keeler, and thank you for that. And Laverne, so there's a number of things going on here, right? So it's, a lot of us know, maybe a lot of people on this call who've taken initiative who maybe saw an email, we should do a survey. How did you guys find out about this call, right? And took the initiative to come onto this call to do some research to find out what the alternatives are. Maybe they saw the flyer and think, hey, I don't believe that. Let me go and give them the benefit of the doubt. And we really appreciate everyone coming on here. What we're really talking about in different ways and coming from different sort of platforms is that Black people especially have been educated, misinformed, maybe in some cases coerced, right, by different institutions. A lot of it's just ignorance. It's not even deliberate coercion. It's just we don't know any better. And we've been conditioned to accept the status quo, to toe the line, to not research, and definitely not trust each other. So you see two Black men here and a Black lady doctor talking about this stuff. And, maybe not everyone on this call, but the natural inclination is to check twice as hard as you would had you seen an email or gone to a website that's produced by people who don't look like us, right? This isn't racism. This is racial. We're trying to expose something here that is quite profound. And I want to segue, and Laverne, hopefully you'll appreciate, and I'd love to get a story from you, Laverne, because I actually shared a post from you, Laverne, this week about, something you shared about your cramping and your bleeding that you suffered for years. And I want to say it's the essence, but you started taking our supplements and you realized just last week that you didn't even realize you were having a cycle because the bleeding and the pain had subsided so much. What I really want to talk about, guys, if I have just a few minutes on this call, we're finishing at 7. For those of you who are new to our paradigm, for those of you who are new to this, even Kia, who's been on this for a while, and, we talked earlier about everyone's body being a little bit different, right? Not everyone's going to respond to the same things exactly in the same time, in the same way, on the same day. We have some women whose fibroids shrink. We have some women whose fibroids dissolve. We have some women whose fibroids literally pass when they're in the shower or when they're on the restroom. So not everyone is going to dissipate their fibroids in the exact same way. The same way not everyone's fibroids were formed in the same way. And we have to be very clear that it isn't a one size fits all. But one size that does fit everybody, that we're bringing everyone's attention to, we are all suffering poison. We are all suffering pollution. And even though you may break out in a rash and person B breaks out in a sore or a sprain and someone else breaks out, their hair falls out, the cause of it is these endocrine disrupting chemicals. The cause of it is the food that we're eating. The cause of it is that Dr. Amsu may eat tilapia and be fine. I may eat tilapia and get eczema. Okay. His tilapia, he doesn't feel anything, but guess what? 10 years later, he has a prostate issue because there's some there's some chemical in the tilapia or in the skin or the way they washed it or the plastic packaging that they shrink wrap it in to send it to Kroger, right? And so we're all going to experience this thing. That's why we, regardless of where you live, how old you are, how well you think you eat, how well you think you exercise, how well you think you clean your home, or how well you think you wash your meat or your fish, you are being bombarded with chemicals, okay? And by taking the right supplementation, you can feed your cells the nutrients they need. But guess what you also need to do? You need to stop filling your body with those other chemicals. We start with the food because we're putting these things into our mouths, okay? Then we stop imbibing toxins through our skin. We start to change the chemicals we use on our skin. We start to change what we use to cook, like oils. We start to use different oils. We start maybe not to cook our oils. We start not to let our oils smoke, okay? We start to consider what we put in our hair. We start to consider what medications we take over the counter. We start to consider, wait, the doctor told me to go and do this. Is there a natural cure for this? Is there an alternative? Is there a holistic alternative? Guys, Dr. Amsu's been doing the research, has written the book, has traveled, the world, basically all over America, espousing the virtues of what's in this book, espousing the virtues of what's in these herbal supplements, because we have tens of thousands of women who will stand here and testify that in doing these programs, within days, they notice changes to their cycle. Within days, they notice less cramping. Within days, within weeks, they've come back and say, man, my fibroids haven't gone yet. I'm going for my scan next week. But I did notice that my cycle was lighter. It was shorter. What that is telling you is that these things are changing. It took maybe decades for you to form your fibroids, 10 years, 15 years. Women who were getting into their 30s and 40s discovering they have endometriosis. This thing's been forming since they were teenagers, sometimes before, pre-menarche, right? When they were in middle school, these things start forming. And so to believe that an outpatient procedure, one round of antibiotics or drugs or steroid or hormonal drugs is going to cure something. The young lady, I think it was Ruth, the fibroids came back. So it wasn't Ruth. Is she still here? The young lady I was here earlier on. She had the UAE, the UFE. The fibroids came back because they didn't deal with the root cause. Ladies, we deal with the root cause. We don't want your fibroids to come back. We don't want new fibroids to form. We don't want your fibroids to form in the first place. So our paradigm is for everybody. Today we're talking about fibroids and female reproductive health. We can talk about prostate if you like. We can talk about cancer if you like. We can talk about autoimmune conditions if you like. A lot of them have very common causes, which is the toxins that we're being exposed to. But today I want to talk about fibroids, and very briefly, Dr. Amsu, Dr. Keeley will just touch on this, and maybe Laverne, I'd love to hear your testimony about your cramping and your pain. Guys, you don't have to believe us. You can go and get the testimonials. We don't go anywhere. Look, we want to talk about our guarantees. We stand by what we do. You will experience a change when you change. If you don't change, you're going to experience the same thing. One thing isn't going to change. The clock isn't going to stop. The clock isn't going to stop. Ladies who are in their late 20s, early 30s, they want to settle down, have kids, find out they've got fibroids. Oh, crap. This could disrupt the child's, at least one of the trimesters of the child. A lot of women are finding out, black women are finding out they have infertility because of female reproductive health issues, because of problems with their ovaries, because of problems with fibroids. And they've been smoking hookah and drinking and eating plastics and eating Kentucky and Popeyes and canned foods would have estrogen lined plastic on the canned foods. All your food is now heat shrink wrapped. All the food, when you buy fish and the fish is thawed, it was previously frozen. There's small print on the label. Every meat, if you go to Walmart right now, every meat in Walmart, whether it's fresh or frozen, was frozen on the way to the store. They thaw it in the back and then put it out and sell it as fresh. Then they put, psst, they got that little spray that psst over the vegetables to keep it moist. That's what they're doing. The stuff was frozen in plastic. They used liquid nitrogen to freeze this stuff. I know, I used to work in a blast freezer. 27 seconds, Dr. Hampton. Did I ever tell you this? You have 27 seconds
I've heard it a lot of times,
to get out of a blast freezer before you freeze. I kid you not. I'll tell you about the day, one day I spilled some donuts in the freezer. I'll tell you how quickly I ran out of there. The donuts didn't make it. I just about made it out of there. But guys, if you are considering an alternative, we know and believe that we have the best alternative. We know and believe that with a consultation, with conversation, with working with us, we can put you on a plan, and that will change your life. Not just for your fibroids, but because the things that are causing the fibroids, those same chemicals are creating other things in your body you're not even aware of yet. When we talk to women, they say, I've got fibroids. Through consultation, what do we find out, Dr. Amsu? Not only may they have obesity, but they may have eczema. They have high blood pressure. They have kidney issues. They have other adrenal issues. It just hasn't expressed itself yet. So guys, our paradigm is about eradicating those chemicals, and we have a program that works, that will eradicate your fibroids. Dr. Amsu.
I just wanted to touch on, because I know how devout Laverne is, right? And check this out. The involuntary system, we have a voluntary system and an involuntary system when it comes to our biology, right? The voluntary system is our will. That's our will, what we choose to do, our options, our choices. Then there's the involuntary system. That belongs to God. That's God's will. That's an automation that's been put in place by God. And the involuntary is invoked by the voluntary, meaning things that we choose to do, the conditions we choose to put our bodies into, there are outcomes. For every condition, there, if you create a condition, there's the natural God's will of this is what's going to happen. Judgment is placed immediately. So if you create an environment for fibroids, you're going to get fibroids. If you take yourself out of the environment or the conditions for fibroids, the fibroids will go. They will go. So what we choose to do, and this is the practices that we have, the culture that we live in, our lifestyle choices, they are our will. We were given free will, right? But there are consequences that invokes the will of God. When we make good choices, the will of God blesses us. When we make bad choices, we suffer. The wages of sin is death. You understand? So we hear all these terms, and I'm giving I had to go to church, and I had to go to church till I said I dare no more, right? But all the lessons that I learned, right, it's about applying those to life, because there's belief and then there's practice. You have people who believe, but they don't practice what was prescribed. When you don't practice what was prescribed, right, belief does not get you out of the conditions that you create. It does not. Which is why faith without works is dead.
And Laverne did say that. But Laverne, if you don't mind, I'd love to hear from you, and I'm sure some of the women here would love to hear from you. You gave a great testimonial recently about. I'll let you share it. I don't want to steal your thunder.
I'm gonna become a preacher, That felt good. That actually felt.
Laverne, do not let this man into your church. Put his picture up above the door so that the deacons can know to shut him out when he comes around.
The ushers.
Yeah. Laverne, could you unmute Miss Laverne, please, producer? We have our moody producer. Laverne, did you mute yourself? We can't hear you. Hold on. Yeah, you're muted. There you go.
So yeah, when I started with you guys and I started to make the lifestyle changes that I needed to, I used to really have, from the time I was young, teenager, real bad cramps. Told me that when you get pregnant, you start taking birth controls. It's going to go away after your pregnancy. It's going to go away. Well, my children are all grown, and in my 30s and 40s, I'm still having cramps during my cycle, and the bleeding. I learned from you guys that the bleeding should not have been that much. My days were like 7 or 5 days. I didn't have that long, but it was very heavy. So what I started experiencing when I met you and I started using your, making the lifestyle changes with the food, that's where I started from. and then started taking supplements, I started experiencing where my cycle, I'm not having those cramps like I used to have those cramps anymore. It's not as uncomfortable. I get to one point, I didn't even know it was, the days, you mark the days, but like I would know from symptoms, it's about to come. And I wasn't having those symptoms. I don't even have those symptoms anymore like I used to back then. And so that's been my testimony that has changed. Also, I've went through a period of time in 2020, where I was sick and I didn't know what was going on with me, going back and forth to the doctors. And I was having heart palpitations, and I was like, feel like I'm going to pass out, and foggy brain, whatever it was. And when I got on your program also and start to learn and change and make those changes, I start to get better. Today, I'm at the point where I'm back to myself. But then I come to find, as you were saying, you get rid, you start to make the lifestyle changes with the foods you're eating. That's important. But as you were saying to one of the participants on the Zoom meeting right now, that also the person was talking about her fibers and them not shrinking. Mm-hmm. The household toxins, that was it. And that was another big part for me that I wasn't aware of. And I didn't know until the beginning this year. I actually cleaned my house out. And now they think I'm paranoid because I'm already paranoid with the food eating. But now I clean my house out of all of those toxins. And I buy, shop, Melaleuca, of course. And I, shop everything from there. So my house is free. Everything I cleaned out. So with that being said, I feel much better. I'm back to myself as in how I was before 2020, that pandemic, where I was cleaning all these Clorox cleanup, spraying Lysol and all this trash that they have us doing. Just listening to you, right? And doing the things that you said. And that was the next step that I need to make. So I have been better. My cycle has been better. The way, I feel during that time. And I'm on the path also of getting rid of fibroids. Yeah. I was diagnosed with fibroids. I don't say my fibroids because they nothing belong to me, but I diagnosed with it. And I am on that path. I was told by my OBGYN when I went the other day after I started, shortly after I started taking the subs for that, I was told by him, it's gotten bigger. And I got mad and I was upset. And like you said, he wants, try to console me because I'm like, next time I go to that OBGYN, he put his hand on me. They have a way to be rubbing you, patting you like they're conservative. Take your hand off me. But he always to console me. No, she's take your hand off of me because he wants to. I know he wants to do that surgery. Yeah. But I'm like, not doing it. My husband already said, no, we're doing that. But as I speak to you, I believe it is shrinking because again, I believe I'm doing the works. I'm taking the supplements, and my fit it is going to go. I believe it's shrinking, and I'm going to stay on that path and do what you guys has been advising me to do. That's what I say. I believe what you're doing. There's a reason why I believe, and I appreciate it. But yes, my life, my period, my cycle, everything has gotten better in my body. I'm thankful for it. Let me say this real quick. My husband just got COVID, and I'm telling you, day one, he felt it. Day two, he's up and out of the house. Today, he's up and out. And we just came off of a 7 days fast that we did, the fruit fast. On Sunday, we were back to normal. And this week is when he realized that he got, he started feeling some symptoms and he realized he had COVID. But I'm saying all to say, because when you live this way, it do benefit you because it didn't hit him like that or hit him down. He's up and out. Yeah. Yeah.
Well, Laverne, we really appreciate that story. And, of course, and here's the thing, what's really funny, guys, is that, and you guys all know this, I'm sure most of you guys are professionals. And I do want to hear from people who have any questions about the program itself, is that we don't get a lot of emails. We don't get a lot of complaint emails. The emails we get that complaints are, my package arrived and, the bottle's broken, right? Or, oh man, I moved, or I gave you the wrong address, or, it's things like that, right? We seldom get complaints about our protocols and our products. But here's what's even more ironic. We seldom get, from email anyway, people telling us, oh man, your program worked, I feel so much better. Unless we interview them, unless we do some kind of survey, then we hear about it. Because what happens is, and just like all of us, you feel sick, you go to the doctor and you swear to the doctor, I'll never do this again, I feel so sick, what have you got? The doctor prescribes you something, you go home, you get well in a few days. You don't go back to the doctor and go, doc, that stuff you gave me worked. No one does that. We just keep it moving. And we're cognizant of that. And that's another reason why we have these forums. Because if you do have an issue, and Kia, we love you coming on and sharing your journey, because we'd love to work with you on that, because there's always something we like to find out. So we have an open forum here. But before we go, guys, we do finish at 7. I want to ask if there's anyone on the call who has any questions, comments, concerns about our program, about the book, what's in the book, about how to do the program, what it entails, what it means for you, how much does it cost, where can I get it, how soon can I get it? Any questions at all? Listen, you guys are always free to email us. Producer, we'll put the email address into the chat, support@greatblackdetox.com. But whilst you have us here, before we shut down, is anyone at all, don't be shy, has any questions about the program, or any questions at all in the last few minutes here? Wow, look, we've got all these shy people. But listen, guys, and that's fine. What we are going to do, we're going to do a few more of these, right? We took a hiatus from this because we had a bunch of other things going on. Again, we have a standing meeting every Thursday, 5 o'clock. It's actually the same link. If you've already registered for this, you could just use that link and get onto our Thursday call. But we do like to have this space in this forum, and that's why Dr. Keely is here. And we have some other people as well, some specialists and nutrient therapists and coaches, because we're very passionate about fibroids and female reproductive health issues. We want to answer as many questions as we can. We want to save as many lives as we can. We want as many black women to not go under the knife and not suffer the after effects and the side effects. And Dr. Amsterdam got on his soapbox talking about medical accidents. Now, there was a doctor here, Dr. Beeler. I don't know if you're still on the call. I know you had your camera unmuted earlier on. I'd love to hear from you, Dr. Beeler, just to say hi, find out what you're a doctor of, what your thoughts are. Maybe there's something you'd like to share about your experience, assuming you're an MD or in the field. Dr. Beeler, you there? Producer, can we unmute Dr. Beeler, please? I'm not sure if she's
we've got Dr. Keeler and Dr. Beeler. What's going on?
I can't unmute. I asked to unmute. I request the unmute.
You request the unmute. Yeah. Okay, so maybe Dr. Beeler can't unmute. Well, no worries. Hopefully Dr. Beeler will come on one of our subsequent calls. Okay, so before we dial out for you guys, listen. greatblackdetox.com/fibroids. You can go and learn anything about the program. You can ask us questions, send emails or questions to support@greatblackdetox.com. We're on social media, the Great Black Detox on IG, the Great Black Detox on Facebook. You got Dr. Amsu. Producer, can we get the handles? Hold on, can we get the handles in the chat, please?
It's a nice
Dr. Amsu, at Mr. Briggs, at the Great Black Detox. Follow us on social media. If you follow the Great Black Detox, we will follow you back. We have Dr. Keeler here. Dr. Keeler specializes in skin and hair and other topical things, and just a wonderful person and a wonderful doctor. Someone who, as we discussed earlier on, who's been through the medical schools, who's read all the books, who's practicing now, but who has evangelized the idea that, hold on a second, allopathic medicine isn't always the way. And we as a community, we as a people, there are solutions, and she's an amazing advocate for that. So listen, guys, it's an appeal. Please, before you go under the knife, before you start taking that HRT, or before you get to that stage, before you cook your next steak, before you have your next round of tequila shots, consider your future, consider the kids, the children, and do consider the fibroid elimination program. Hit us up and we'll tell you exactly how to get it. We'll put the link in the chat again. If you have any questions, you can get them here. support@greatblackdetox.com. Drop us an email and we will get back to you within the day. Dr. Amsu, final words from you, my brother.
Thank you, everybody, for participating. We are here for you. We really care about you. We love you. We love our black people. We absolutely love our black people. Right?
Amen.
We're here for you. So we'll be doing a whole bunch more of this. And, we want to bring remedy. That's what we're here for. We're here to bring remedy to what we've gotten ourselves into. We've gotten ourselves into a jam, black people. And we want to get you out of it. So, persevere.
Indeed. Dr. Keeler, any final words from you? You're out there enjoying the sun. I hear you're out there with your drop top. Was that the Ferrari or the Saab? Neither. She's muted. Oh. Oh, she muted herself. Okay, she's cool. Okay, so guys, again, every Thursday, same link. Friday, we may do another one next week. Again, if you have any questions, drop them to us. We are sending love out to you guys. Happy healing, safe healing. Think, read, study, do the program, and your fibroid shall go by will of magic. Okay,
Love
guys.
you.
Thank you.
One
Have a great
love.
weekend. Peace out. We'll see you next week. Take care. Bye bye.